Hello, my name is Ken Dixon, and I would like to welcome you to the Crypto Onboarding course from the Sanborn Dixon Company. In this course, we'll discuss the very basic aspects of cryptocurrency. This will include an explanation of what a cryptocurrency is, what crypto wallets are and how to secure them, the various levels of cryptocurrencies, and of course, exchanges. My goal with this course is to lay a foundation for all of your future cryptocurrency adventures and to get you rolling in an industry that I love. As with everything in life these days, this course comes with a disclaimer. Cryptocurrency is a newcomer to the financial world. It was founded using the philosophies of the cypherpunks who were a counterculture in the 90s. We still retain that counterculture feel quite a bit today. What that means is there's not much formality here. We don't do your standard business culture, so to speak, in cryptocurrency, even during our conventions. To give you an idea of what that means is, during this slideshow, what I'm going to do here is a little bit different than what I would have done back when I worked for Verizon or Lowe's Corporation, which is when I make this slideshow, I'm going to make it in the sense that we're having a conversation. All right. I don't want to make this dry-ass slideshow that's just going to put you to sleep. I want us to have a conversation. I want to be able to give you some insights into my head because I've been in this industry for so long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you historical and technical facts as well as personal opinion. One thing I will not give you is financial advice. Never in any of my courses will I give you financial advice. So please remember that as we move forward. Just a heads up that this course does contain a few naughty words here and there. When utilized appropriately, creative language can be a tool to facilitate learning and to provide insight into a way of thinking and a culture. If you are sensitive to creative language, please accept my apologies in advance and try your best to retain the information contained within said naughty language. One of the phrases you're going to have to get used to in cryptocurrency is do your own research. The reason it's bantered around so much is because we're a very online-based community, and sometimes personal opinions can come across as being stated as facts. Well, that's not necessarily the case, so we try to tell each other to do our own research. It's just a reminder to tell each other to do your due diligence before making any kind of decision moving forward. And so you know who's talking with you today. My name is Ken Dixon. I'm a certified cryptocurrency expert by the Blockchain Council. I am the Director of Asset Management for the Sanborn Dixon Company. I'm also a software developer and a cryptocurrency consultant. I've been involved in cryptocurrency since 2014 and have taken part in two different projects in cryptocurrency, the Newtonian Project and VetStore USA. My favorite cryptocurrency projects right now are, of course, the big three for me, which is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. I also have my eye on a couple of smaller projects, one student coin, and the other one is Note Blockchain. Please feel free to check those out once we are done with the course today. While none of the historical or technical data that I'm going to give you today are absolute necessities for participating in the cryptocurrency universe, I want you to have at least a foundation of knowledge before jumping in full throttle. So I wanted to guide you through some of that information today. I will provide these facts and concepts now, and I'll do my best to explain them in non-technical terms. If you have questions after the course, please feel free to email me those questions when we're done, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. In order to lay the proper foundation, I do unfortunately have to get a little technical, so I'm going to do my best to try and explain this in layman terms. So what is a cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency is a digital asset designed to work as a digital medium of exchange. So what that means is it's digital money. Individual coin ownership is recorded on a ledger that exists on a computerized database called a blockchain using cryptography. This allows for secure transaction records, controlling the creation of additional coins, and verifying the transfer of coin ownership. In short, cryptocurrency is a borderless digital currency without a centralizing issuing authority. There's no government that's printing Bitcoin. No one controls Bitcoin. Because no one controls Bitcoin, no one can seize it, freeze it, or censor Bitcoin. Those last three things are huge for a lot of people. That's what really originally drew people into cryptocurrency, is that you had a currency that could not be taken from you, it could not be frozen, and it could not be censored. So for a lot of people, that's a huge aspect. Most likely by now, if you've heard of Bitcoin, you've heard of Satoshi Nakamoto. So Satoshi is the name of the person or people who developed Bitcoin. What Satoshi did that was so important was he solved a problem called double spending on a peer-to-peer network. And how that problem was solved was with the development of blockchain. Blockchain is immutable, so that kind of is what lended itself to the creation of digital cash. Digital cash had been bantered around for the last 2 decades before Bitcoin came about, and blockchain was that last little thing that was necessary to make that a reality. Many people have claimed to be Satoshi, but no one has actually been able to prove it by signing in to the Satoshi wallets and signing off on a transaction. That's the only way we'll know if someone is actually Satoshi Nakamoto. Without cryptography, there would be no cryptocurrency. That's where the crypto comes from. So cryptography is a method of storing and transmitting data in a particular form so that only those whom it is intended can read and process it. Cryptography not only protects data from theft or alteration, it also can be used for user authentication. Cryptocurrencies use a type of cryptography called public key cryptography, which is when you've got two different keys. One is a public key, the other is a private key. So the public key is the one that you give out to everybody. That is your cryptocurrency address on the blockchain. You have to give them that if you want them to send you cryptocurrency. Now the private key is the one that you retain yourself. You keep that private. If someone gets a hold of your private key, they have control of your cryptocurrencies. Now, the interesting thing is that anytime you're dealing with something in cryptocurrency, there's always an input and an output. These keys, the private key is your output and the public key is your input. So public key receive, private key send out. Another foundational technical aspect of cryptocurrency is the hashing algorithm, that hash function. So Bitcoin uses a hash function called SHA-256, which is the example I have here on the screen for you. So what is a hash? Well, a hash is a mathematical function that converts an input of arbitrary length into an encrypted output of a fixed length. What that means is that regardless of the amount of information you shove into it, a hash function will produce an output of a fixed length. All data stored on Bitcoin blockchain is stored using this method. What is a blockchain? Well, a blockchain is a growing list of records called blocks that are linked using cryptography. Each block contains a cryptographic hash, a timestamp, and transaction data. All of these blocks make up what is called the ledger, which is maintained by computers called nodes. By design, a blockchain is resistant to modification of its data, which we call immutability. Once recorded, the information in any given block cannot be altered retroactively without also altering all subsequent blocks. So what that means is that if we go back 2 years in time and we change a block that was mined in April of a couple years ago, we'd also have to change the information contained in every other block that occurred since then. It's a huge pain in the ass to do. It's not impossible. It can be done. It just is very hard, so it's not very common to see something like that. Crypto mining is the process in which transactions for a particular cryptocurrency is verified and added to the blockchain's digital ledger. Each time you see a cryptocurrency transaction, a cryptocurrency miner is what's responsible for carrying out that transaction. It authenticates the transaction and it updates the blockchain. The mining process itself involves multiple crypto miners competing against each other, trying to solve complicated math problems related to that particular block that's being mined. The first crypto miner to crack the code is rewarded by being authorized to conduct the transaction and update the blockchain. As a reward for that service, they receive in return a little bit of the cryptocurrency that they're working on. A consensus method is a simple way for all computers on a distributed computing environment to agree on how to deal with errors and faults. It ensures that each machine on the environment or in the environment has the correct copy of the ledger. Proof of work was the first and most common consensus method in cryptocurrency. It is the DNA of Bitcoin as well as the earliest blockchain. Now, proof of stake was created as an alternative to proof of work to tackle inherent issues in that method. To save you the technical speak, just know that in proof of stake, the more currency you hold, the more you stake, the more you receive in return. So you're rewarded for staking your currency with proof of stake. This headline was recorded on the first block of Bitcoin called the Genesis block, as a means of dating when the block was created, also as a way of giving us some insight into why Bitcoin was created. We know from Satoshi's emails and posts on bitcointalk.org that the primary drive for the creation of digital cash was to transcend the monetary policies of the world's governments. Many people considered those monetary policies inherently flawed, as well as inherently unfair and ultimately doomed to failure. Bitcoin was created specifically to combat inflation and monetary debasement caused by central governments. It was also meant to bank the unbanked, which is a way of saying to give monetary abilities of a bank to those who are unable to access or use traditional banks. Bitcoin places the responsibility of one's wealth in their own hands and promotes individual sovereignty. In short, Bitcoin was created to separate money from governments. Because Bitcoin is an open source project, which means everyone can see its source code, it was only a matter of time before someone came along and used that source code for their own purposes. Less than 2 years after the Genesis block of Bitcoin, this eventuality came to life. The first fork of Bitcoin was a project called Namecoin, and it's still around today. When a blockchain is forked, a new chain branches off of the original. The new blockchain retains the old chain's historical data, but implements new rules for all blocks moving forward. This change does not affect the original chain at all. It just creates its own branch and continues adding new blocks under new rules. You then have two separate blockchains, which mean you have two separate cryptocurrencies. Now you have a primary chain and an alt or alt chain, which is where the term altcoin comes from. Another method used to create an alternate cryptocurrency is to clone another project's source code. Like a forked blockchain, a clone chain will operate under its own rules, but unlike a fork, when a clone is created, it has its own Genesis block, which means it has no historical data from the original source chain. To clone something is essentially a fancy way of saying you copy and pasted the code and made a little bit of change here and there, and now it's your own. While most cryptocurrencies these days still contain at least some aspect of the original Bitcoin source code, there are other projects whose source code did not come from Bitcoin at all. The most notable of those projects for me is Ethereum and Ripple. Ethereum was created to focus on smart contracts, and Ripple was created to focus on cross-border monetary transfers. While smart contracts are possible on Bitcoin, they're not very functional. Ethereum came along and focused on those smart contracts. Cross-border monetary transfers occur all day on Bitcoin, but Ripple's more centralized ledger process allows for almost instantaneous transfers at a much cheaper price. As of right now, there are two primary types of cryptocurrency: coins and tokens. And it's inevitable at some point in your adventures in crypto land that you're going to come across tokens. The major difference between a coin and a token is that a token doesn't have its own blockchain. It is created by a smart contract that exists on a host chain. The vast majority of those smart contracts are hosted on Ethereum, but there is, at least in spirit, some competition from newer projects coming up and about right now. Another difference between coins and tokens is that tokens are only accessible through the host chain's wallet. They don't have their own wallet, while coins do have a standalone wallet that can be used to access their own blockchain. These days, there are literally thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies in existence. Estimates range between 4,000 and 7,000 active cryptocurrencies as of January 2021. While most every cryptocurrency comes into existence the same way, not all cryptos are created the same, if you know what I mean. And the majority of these cryptos that exist right now, they won't be here in 4 or 5 years. They are going to fade out as time passes. As I said at the beginning, I would let you know when we start to venture into the realm of personal opinion. Well, that's where we are now. How a cryptocurrency is categorized is much more open to personal interpretation than if we were talking about a traditional asset. Many members of the crypto community who are very passionate about their favorite and most hated projects may have a lot to say about what we're going to go through here. If you see something you disagree with, well, that's just too damn bad. Welcome to crypto. While it would be easy to assume that the currencies with the highest market cap would be considered the major coins, in crypto that's not necessarily the case. A large part of ranking in crypto is determined by the activities of the project itself. Over the last few years, we have had some pretty shady projects end up in the top 10 with large market caps, but that didn't necessarily make them major coins as far as we were concerned. Long-standing projects like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Monero are considered major coins because their projects have stood the test of time so far, and generally they don't directly compete against each other in their market verticals. They have shown themselves to be legitimate projects with large active communities filled with passionate advocates. Major coins are the ones that you hear about on the news. While there are many who consider anything other than Bitcoin to be an altcoin, I will give you my definition and what I've seen develop over the years. The term altcoin has come to apply to those currencies that are not seen as leaders in their chosen market verticals, but are still generally seen as legitimate projects and contenders. For example, in the smart contract vertical, Ethereum is seen as the major project, while Tron is seen as an alt. Therefore, Tron is the altcoin, while Ether, which is the coin on Ethereum, is the major. In the privacy vertical, Monero is seen as the major, while Zcash is seen as an altcoin. To me, altcoins are the underdog projects, the ones that are fighting for some sunlight in the jungle of the cryptosphere. So now it's time for the infamous shitcoin. A shitcoin is essentially a coin or token that has no value outside of its effectiveness as a vehicle for pump and dump schemes and scams. Generally speaking, once a coin or token is used as a shitcoin, it is only a matter of time before it dies off from low volume or developer abandonment. But this doesn't stop some people from buying large amounts of particular shitcoins to keep as what they call moonbags, in the hopes that it has at least one more good run in it before it dies off completely. Even then, its perceived value isn't in its original purpose as a project, but the possible returns as a high-risk, high-reward speculative asset. Once again, this definition is subjective. This is my definition of it. Others who've been in crypto for a while will have their own definition and criteria for what qualifies as a shitcoin. In non-technical terms, a cryptocurrency wallet is simply an application used to safely store your cryptocurrency public and private keys. When someone says, "What is your Bitcoin address?" they're asking you for your Bitcoin public key. The public key or address is what is used to receive cryptocurrencies. It is the input. The private key is your output. Basically, when you're sending a cryptocurrency, the network uses your private key to authenticate or sign that transfer is legitimate. Public key is in, private key is out, and the wallet is how we interact with the blockchain. When a cryptocurrency wallet is first set up, one of the first things you need to do is record your seed phrase. A seed phrase, or recovery phrase, is a list of 12 to 24 common words used to recover your crypto wallet should you ever lose access. It's a very important aspect of crypto these days. Because your seed phrase is used to access your wallet, it's best practice to record and store that phrase offline. There are numerous methods of achieving this, and it essentially comes down to whatever works best for you. A paper backup is exactly what it sounds like. You write down or print your seed phrase on paper and store it in a safe place until needed. For those of us who've been in crypto for a while, we've learned the shortcomings of the paper backup the hard way. You've never felt panic until you have to find a little piece of paper you haven't seen in years that's now worth thousands of dollars because some random altcoin you've hodled mooned overnight. It's not fun. This method can be destroyed in a house fire, a flood, and can easily be discarded as a random piece of trash by someone who doesn't know what they're looking at. Personally, I prefer something a little bit more robust than a piece of paper. One of those more robust methods of seed storage is the metal letter backup. It's simple, easy, and changeable should you ever wish to migrate to another wallet at some point in the future. It most likely wouldn't be destroyed in a house fire or a flood, and hopefully no one would throw it in the damn trash can by mistake. This is probably the most expensive method, as it usually runs for about $100 on Amazon. The engraving or punch method is what I personally use for long-term investment wallets. It has the durability of metal letter without the price tag. The only thing you lose in the process is the aesthetics. But as long as you can read it, that's really all that matters. Nobody else really needs to have access to your seed phrase. As long as there are different ways of remembering words, there will be different ways of backing up a seed phrase. Cryptocurrency is an industry still in its infancy, and I have no doubt additional methods are being thought up every day. The important points are that you do what works for you, and hopefully it is an offline method that is analog. Just as there are numerous ways to store your seed phrase, there are numerous types of crypto wallets. These types are broken down by temperature to represent how close they are to the internet. A hot wallet is a wallet that sits on the internet. Exchanges use hot wallets for trading and things like that, so you have to use the internet to access your exchange wallet. A warm wallet is a wallet that doesn't sit on the internet per se, but has the ability to touch the internet. Like a QT or desktop wallet, for example, those are warm wallets. They exist on a desktop, but not on the internet. They have the ability to get there, but that's not where they are. A cold wallet is a wallet that has completely disconnected from the internet and has no means whatsoever of touching it on its own. An example of that would be a paper wallet or a hardware wallet or an air-gapped wallet. A paper wallet is exactly what it sounds like. It is a piece of paper with a QR code and your public and private keys printed on them. As stated before, the public key is the address to receive funds, so there's nothing special about it. You don't need to do anything with it to receive funds. You just give it to somebody and they send you funds using your public key. But in order to send funds out from your paper wallet, you must import or sweep your keys using a third-party wallet. In layman terms, you have to give somebody a third-party application, your private keys, in order to send the transaction out. Hardware wallets are storage devices that use proprietary software to organize and store your keys. Most hardware wallets are considered cold storage wallets because they don't have the ability to touch the internet by themselves. They do not operate as standalone devices, but as external devices that use other computers' internet connection via USB. Some of the newer wallets do have the ability to connect to the internet by themselves, so those are technically warm wallets. While these devices are more convenient for interacting with the blockchain, they are technically warm wallets, so are considered a little less secure than cold wallets. The original Bitcoin wallet was a desktop wallet similar to this. It's a very basic application used to store keys and interact directly with the blockchain. These types of wallets are still used today by a lot of proof-of-work projects. Because desktop and mobile wallets live on a computer that have access to the internet, they are technically considered warm wallets. They are more functional than cold wallets, but less secure as the keys are stored in a folder on the computer that touches the internet. These days, most users employ a third-party desktop or mobile wallet to interact with the blockchain. These applications are much more polished and provide numerous other features such as in-app exchange and portfolio tracking. Once again, these are warm wallets because they exist on a computer that has access to the internet. We actually have a course in development about setting up the Zelcore app, which is a desktop/mobile wallet with some additional security features, which is why I chose it and I'm making a course about it. Because Bitcoin was designed to function as a method of exchange, it was only a matter of time before someone came along and created a way to facilitate that exchange, as well as to track its price over time. The first Bitcoin exchange was the now defunct BitcoinMarket.com, which launched less than a year after Bitcoin was created. At that point, one Bitcoin sold for 3/1000ths of a penny. Man, I'd be so damn rich if I had it. So as you can see, things have changed quite a bit since then. Now there are at least 291 known cryptocurrency exchanges that handle a daily volume in excess of $150 billion. At this time, the total market cap for all cryptocurrencies is approximately $1 trillion. 60% is Bitcoin by itself. So if you could imagine buying Bitcoin at 1/3000th of a penny, you'd be a very happy Bitcoin whale right now. Over the past couple of years, the number of cryptocurrency exchanges accessible to U.S. citizens has actually gone down thanks to our buddies over in the Securities and Exchange Commission. While we still have access to quite a few exchanges, for the purposes of this class, just know that the three listed here, Coinbase, Binance.us, and Cash App, are generally the best ones for on-ramping new people. So for the purposes of this class, I'm going to show you how to set up and use Coinbase. Before we do that though, we have covered a lot so far, and I want to take a little bit of time here to let your brain cool off before we jump into Coinbase. Take this time to do whatever it is you want to do, or you can skip ahead. I don't care what you do. You paid for this. You can do what you want. Anyway, enjoy some tunes while I grab some coffee. So originally, the onboarding was supposed to be its own separate course from Coinbase. But the more I thought about it, it wasn't sitting well with me that we ended the onboarding without you actually owning crypto. And when I found the song used for our opening of all of our courses here, it really kind of struck me that I wanted these courses to be an integral part of your crypto journey. And the only way I could ensure that that would happen is if you walked away actually owning cryptocurrency. So now we're going to set up a Coinbase account. Everybody's recaffeinated and we're good to go. Coinbase is one of the most popular cryptocurrency exchanges in the United States, and it's the best exchange for beginners, in my opinion. Over the years, it's had its ups and downs as a company and shares of scandals and accusations just like any other crypto exchange, but as of today, it's the only crypto exchange listed on a major U.S. stock exchange, which kind of means something. So Coinbase combines security with a feature-rich, intuitive website, right? And also they have an outstanding support team. So that's the main reason that I use Coinbase, is it's easy to onboard people and the support team is there. So let's go ahead and go to coinbase.com, and once you get there, look in the upper right corner and click Get Started. The first thing we see is a basic create your account form, right? So first name, last name, email address, password, and then state of residency. So state of residency is part of the know your customer procedures, and we will go over that a little bit later. But for now, let's go ahead and fill this out and click the create account button. Most cryptocurrency exchanges see themselves more as platforms than websites for exchanging cryptocurrency. As a result of that, they tend to hit you with a lot of promotions and discounts and things that will motivate you to use the other services on their website and to stay on their website more often, right? And Coinbase is no different than that. So you will see these promotions occasionally pop up in random places. Some of them are really good, like this particular promotion. Back when I first got on Coinbase, this was actually $150 worth of Bitcoin. So that'll tell you how much things have kind of changed. So let's go ahead and click continue. As with any other account creation these days, you have to verify your email address. The verification email you receive will look like this, and it will have a verify email address button on there. Go ahead and click that for me now. Once you're routed back to the Coinbase account, it will prompt you to set up two-factor authentication using your cell phone number. Of all the security mechanisms in place, two-factor authentication is probably the most important. So let's go ahead and enter our cell phone number here and click the send code button. Once you receive the code in your text message on your cell phone, enter that code here and click submit. If for some reason you didn't receive a code in your text message, go ahead and hammer down on that resend text message button right there in the middle and do it as many times as it takes until it comes through, because we got some damn business to do in here and they need to get up off their asses. This is the infamous Know Your Customer form. 2 or 3 years ago, you wouldn't have seen this form at all. Back then, really all you needed to open an exchange account on most exchanges was an email address and a password, right? They didn't really give a damn who you were back then. But thanks to Uncle Sam's jackboot thugs in the IRS and their cousins over in the Securities and Exchange Commission, we now have to provide all of this sensitive information to third-party websites. Next thing you know, they'll be wanting us to take urinalysis and blood samples and swear an oath to the central bank. And we're back. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but apparently the NSA doesn't appreciate me talking trash about the income producing departments within the U.S. government. Guess that's bad for business. So as I was saying, this is the KYC form, and unfortunately, if we want to open a Coinbase account, we have to provide this information. So let's go ahead and enter that now and click continue. Once we've signed our deal with the devil and completed the KYC information, we'll finally be able to access the home screen of our Coinbase account. The home screen is mission control for all of our activities on the Coinbase account. So let's go ahead and highlight some of the features of the home screen real quick, and then we will jump on to buying crypto. The first thing we need to take a look at is the buy, sell, send, receive buttons in the upper right corner. You also have the account menu underneath your username up there. We'll come back to that a little bit later when we start adding payment methods. The bulk of the home screen is going to be filled with various offers and promos and suggestions and various highlights. These are the things that Coinbase want you to see so that you stay engaged on the platform. This section changes quite often, so they can keep you engaged in something new. So let's go ahead and move on to the menu. On the far left side of the screen is the main menu. A lot of these options link back to one another at various points throughout the website, but the main menu is going to be your primary means of navigation. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at what all is covered in the main menu. First is the portfolio section. Once we have purchased or received cryptocurrency, this screen gives us an overall view of the funds in our account. Next is the trade section. This is a very basic menu of all the cryptocurrencies you can purchase on Coinbase. This is more than likely where you're going to spend the majority of your time once you're off on your own, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, this is where you actually buy cryptocurrency. An interesting feature that Coinbase offers is the convert feature, which is located on the right side of the screen. Here you can convert any supported cryptocurrency into any other supported cryptocurrency without transferring to a more advanced exchange. Now, it's not going to be at the best transfer rate, okay? So what they're doing here is they are market selling what you have, and then they are market buying what you want. So the fees are higher, and as far as the price is concerned, you know, there's no telling what the price is. They're market buying, so it's whatever is out there at that time. So each of the currencies in the convert box is actually a drop-down menu. Once you click that drop-down menu, you can scroll through and pick whichever currency you want to change that to. See, now the conversion would be from Tether to Internet Computer, which is actually a really cool project that I suggest you guys check out when you get time. So another handy feature that Coinbase offers is the automatic recurring buy option, which is just below the conversion section. So once you click the Add New button on there, this is what's going to pop up. This is the recurring buy screen. And although it's called the recurring buy feature, you can actually set up recurring sell and recurring convert as well. This is essentially a fire and forget option for those who want to dollar cost average a crypto, but you don't want to deal with the process of logging in and sending money and all of that stuff on a weekly or monthly basis. So you set this up to whatever time frame that you want and just forget about it. Next is the For You section. In this section, you'll find various news articles and promotions and highlights that Coinbase wants you to see. That, once again, that's going back to the whole platform philosophy of keeping you engaged on the website. I would suggest paying attention to the promos that pop up on here, because sometimes they're really good, things that you don't want to miss, essentially free money a lot of times. Next is the Earn Rewards section. So this is the location where you find various reward programs that you can participate in. Most of the time the rewards are a small amount of whatever type of crypto, and there isn't really much that you have to do to qualify for it. So once again, this is going back to the platform philosophy of getting you engaged on the website and keeping you engaged on the website. And last is the notification section. Because your account is so new, there shouldn't be anything in this section, but it's always good to check notifications at least once a week just to make sure there's nothing that's taking place that affects your account. So those are the various features of your Coinbase account. Back on the home screen, we see that we have an Add Payment Method button. Now, if you're here to buy crypto, you have to add a payment method in order to do that. So let's go ahead and get that done right now. Here are our payment method options. Remember, with everything in crypto, where there is an input, there is an output. So with these accounts, not only can you buy crypto, but you can also cash out through these accounts as well. So I prefer to have maximum flexibility whenever possible. That's why I set up multiple routes in and out to conduct large or small purchases. Now, for larger purchases, you're going to use the checking account and the wire transfer. For the smaller, quicker purchases, you're going to want to use a debit card or PayPal account. So let's go ahead and set up our bank account right now, because it will have a little bit of a delay sometimes, and then we'll come back and we'll add our debit and PayPal accounts before we're done here, so that we have all of those options open to us. This may be the first screen that you see after selecting checking. This is just a quick explanation of the third-party service Coinbase uses to access your bank account. Plaid is a well-known and well-trusted service, so let's go ahead and click Continue. Now we need to select our bank. Most of the major banks are supported, so there shouldn't be an issue finding it here in this list. But if for some reason your bank is not listed here, just hang with me and I'll show you how to add your bank account manually a little bit later. Assuming you were able to find your bank on that list, the next screen will prompt you to enter your login credentials for your online banking account. I'm pretty sure most major banks now require some type of two-factor authentication before allowing a third-party application to access your account. With Bank of America, you have two methods to receive a verification code. Choose whichever one works for you and click Continue. Once you've completed two-factor authentication, you should be presented with a list of your accounts if you have multiple accounts with that bank. Select the account you want Coinbase to use and click Continue. Normally, once you've clicked Continue, the connection to your bank account is successful and you're taken back to the home screen. In this case, Bank of America blocked access and wanted verification that this was a valid attempt to access my account. While I did acknowledge it was a valid attempt, I do want to take the opportunity to show you how to manually enter a bank account. In order to manually add your bank account, you will need your routing number and your account number. This information is generally found on the bottom of your checks. But for those of you who have no idea what a check is, go and Google what is a checkbook and then log into your bank account and locate your routing and account number there. It's all the same. Enter this information in the appropriate field and click Verify Your Bank. Once your bank account information has been verified, you should be taken back to the home screen. Now, because we want to set up two other methods of payment, we'll need to get into our account settings. And how we do that is we look in the upper right hand corner, we find our username, click the drop down menu, and we find settings. Now we are on the back end of our Coinbase account. The settings page is how we admin and customize our account. So let's take a quick run through of the options. In the top center of the screen, you should see a horizontal menu. Let's click Preferences on that menu. Here you can set preferences for your default local currency, time zone, and notifications. Be sure to click Save for any changes you make on this page. Next is the security screen. Well, technically this is the bottom of the security screen because they have it laid out kind of weird. Either way, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, this is what you'll see. While the setup process forced us to set up two-factor authentication using text messages, it is highly recommended that you change this to either the Google Authenticator app or a security key device, something like that. Both of those methods are much more secure than text messages, as they can't be replicated by a third party. It is highly recommended that you set up these two-factor authentications for all transactions. Unless you plan on scalp trading, the additional security is well worth the extra step. The financial services page goes back to the whole platform philosophy, to where they want to keep you engaged and on the platform as much as possible. They don't want you to have to go off platform for any other type of service. So they try to offer as many services as they can here. I personally like to keep these turned on because there's nothing wrong with keeping some extra funds in your account for staking or rewards and things like that. It's essentially free money. Next is the activity screen. So anytime your account is accessed or changed, it's logged here. It's a good idea to just kind of keep an eye on what's going on here because you don't want to see any logins from any funky IP addresses from the other side of the world or anything like that. If that were to occur, this is where you would see that activity. Coincidentally, at the bottom of that activity page is where you find the Close Account button. So if further in your crypto journey, Coinbase somehow pisses you off, this is where you would go to close out the account out of spite and then post about it on Twitter, only to come back in about 6 months and reopen a new account. Next are the privacy options. At the top of the privacy options page, you should see instant sends. Well, that is a feature that Coinbase has where one Coinbase account can send to another Coinbase account instantly. Well, not everybody likes to broadcast to the world that they have a damn Coinbase account, so a lot of people keep this turned off. This is also where all of your personal data is going to be stored, so keep an eye on that as your account ages. You'd be surprised how much information a website can gather on you over time. This is the payment method screen. This is where we will be adding our debit card and PayPal account once we're finished checking out the account settings. This is the API section. An API is what allows a third-party application to interact with your Coinbase account. So should you ever use a third-party application for like a portfolio manager or automated bot trading, this is how that would be carried out. Now, an API connection is a secure encrypted connection, but a lot of people in the cryptosphere don't like APIs because they see it as an expanded threat vector to your account. While they are not technically wrong, it is generally much easier to find exploits in the third-party application instead of the API or the Coinbase website. Next, we have the account limits. This is where you see your account limits, as well as your level of verification. Right now, your level of verification should be at a 2, but we will have you at level 3 before this course is over. The last screen we're going to talk about here is the crypto address section. The first time you buy or receive a specific cryptocurrency using your Coinbase account, a public address is going to be generated for you. As we learned during the onboarding, your public key is how you receive funds. It is your input. But because these are not technically your wallets, these are Coinbase's wallets, you don't have the private keys. Therefore, many of us who've been around for a while highly suggest that you buy your crypto and then transfer it to a cold wallet, only keeping what you need to trade and stake on the exchange. Remember, not your keys, not your crypto. Now let's go back to the payment method screen so we can add our additional accounts. If everything went okay adding your bank account, you should see it listed here. If not, you can attempt to add it again using this screen. Now click the Add Payment Method button on the right side and let's get started here. The next method we're going to add is our debit card, so go ahead and click that now. The first thing we have to do before we can add our debit card to our brand new Coinbase account is enter the billing account information. Next, we enter the card details. Once everything is entered correctly, the Add Card button will turn a solid blue color, which means it's now clickable. An interesting method some platforms have adopted to verify that the card you just entered is actually yours is to post 2 small charges to your account. At this point, you have to log into your bank account and verify the amount of those small charges in order to move forward. Once the system verifies the small charges you just entered, it should drop you off back at the payment method screen. Now we have a bank account and a debit card as methods of payment. The debit card is for small, quick purchases and small, quick cash outs, while the bank account is for large purchases and for large cash outs. Now let's add our PayPal account. Alright, so now that my damn mic is working again, let's go ahead and reopen the payment method screen and click PayPal. Go ahead and enter your PayPal login information here and click Login. If you don't have an account, you can create an account from this screen and it will bring you right back into the login and you can move forward from there. And because PayPal does support two-factor authentication for all transactions, I do have that turned on and we have to verify that this transaction is legitimate. If you don't have two-factor authentication set up on your PayPal, I do suggest that you set that up the next time you're in there. Yeah, it's an extra step every time you want to do something, but it could save your ass at some point if somebody gets access to your account. Pretty straightforward. Enter your two-factor authentication code and click Continue. Now if you notice, there's a Trust This Device option here. What this is asking is, PayPal is saying, if Coinbase reaches out to me again, do I ask for two-factor authentication every single time? For this connection, I don't mind that two-factor authentication isn't enforced every time. I've essentially given Coinbase my bank account, my debit card number, and now my PayPal. If I didn't trust them enough with that information, I wouldn't be setting this up and I wouldn't be making this course. If you have more than one bank account set up or card set up with PayPal, it should ask you which one you want to use whenever Coinbase makes a purchase. And more verification. This time it's from Coinbase because there is a change being made to your account, so it wants to validate that this change is legit. Once you complete the two-factor authentication, it will add your PayPal account and drop you back on the settings page for a payment method. So we've got our 3 methods of payment now. Remember, each one is an in and an out. So let's go ahead and buy some crypto. From whatever screen you're on, most likely you're still in the payment method screen, you should be able to look up in the right corner and see the Buy Sell button. Go ahead and click that. You should see this pop-up box. From this screen, you can buy, sell, and convert any cryptocurrency Coinbase supports. You also have the option to set up recurring purchases from this screen by clicking the drop-down menu that says One-Time Purchase. The options are one time, every day, every week, the 1st and 15th of the month, or every month. This is just an easy way to set up a dollar cost averaging system for any cryptocurrency that Coinbase has. The next thing we need to set up before we click the amount is what we want to buy. Let's say I want to buy some Tether so that I have some funds on standby for the next dip. So I click the buy button that currently says Bitcoin and I find Tether on the list that pops up. Click Tether, and it takes us right back to the buy box. And now we have Tether in the buy section. You can change your method of payment by clicking the Pay With box. For funds that you want to send out immediately, you should choose either debit card or PayPal. I'm going to pick checking to show you something that's kind of interesting, but you do whatever suits your needs at this time. Once you've chosen what you want to buy and which account you want to use to buy it with, you can go ahead and either click one of the preset dollar amounts at the top, or you can set a custom amount. For our purposes here, I'm going to buy $100, so I click the $100 preset button. Once you click the amount you want to buy, you'll see a confirmation screen that breaks down every aspect of what's about to happen. From top to bottom, we have the amount of Tether we'll have in the wallet once the purchase is complete. Below that is the method of payment we're going to use. Price is how much we're going to pay for each Tether. And purchase is the total dollars you'll spend on Coinbase once the fees are deducted. So the total should equal the exact amount of whatever it was that you set in before. So if you clicked a preset amount, it should have that preset amount here. Or if you put in a custom amount, you should see your custom amount under total. So before we move on, if you notice the text in the middle of the screen here, that text is the reason I chose to use the bank account, because it's something I wanted to show you. What's going on there with that statement? Essentially what it says is you can trade your USDT instantly while we wait for your funds. You can send your USDT in up to 11 days. Now there's a lot going on with that statement, so let me explain a little bit of crypto history here for you. You are buying a cryptocurrency using a banking system that was state-of-the-art technology in the 1930s. Until recently, when you used a bank account to buy cryptocurrency, you didn't see that crypto until the payment was completely processed by the bank. Sometimes this took 2 or 3 weeks, which means by the time you took control of your funds, a lot had changed. This was a huge problem. People were losing a lot of money while waiting for their payments to process. The answer to the problem was simply to allow users to access their funds on the exchange, but not allow withdrawal of those funds until the payment was completely processed. Now, everyone is happy. So if everything looks good, go ahead and click Buy Now. Now, once the payment has processed, you should see this confirmation page, which I love these confirmation pages, because what I hear in my head whenever I see this is essentially from top to bottom. It's like, hey, while we wait for that busted ass old banking system to pay us our money, we're going to let you access those funds, and I'm going to give you a confirmation on the blockchain to show you that you have access to it. So do you see the difference between the old system and the new system? That's kind of how I read it, even though it's probably not the way they friggin' intended it. Hey, so now you own some cryptocurrency. Congratulations. No, but seriously, you probably just joined me on some damn government list of degenerate financial revolutionaries or something. I don't know. Either way, you own crypto. So let me show you how to actually send and receive that crypto before the feds kick in your door and pepper spray your damn gerbil or something, whatever they do. Anyway, so we're back on the home screen. We need to locate and click the Send Receive button in the upper right corner. So you remember earlier when I showed you that you were a level 2 verification, and I said that we would be at level 3 before this course was over. That's because I kind of knew that something would pop up along the way that would require this ID verification, right? So it's part of the know your customer process, but how it kind of comes across is like, oh, you're just going to buy our crypto, huh, and send it off the exchange. You know, that's pretty suspect. Show me some ID before I let this happen. Once again, it's probably not how they intended it, but that's just kind of how it comes across. It's how these people act. I don't know. Our ID verification options are either a driver's license or some other type of state-issued ID. Now, you can choose whichever you want, but I like to initially hit them with my VA ID, my Veterans ID, so they can deny it and be like, hey, this isn't a state-issued ID. And I'm like, hey, yeah, it's a state, all right. It's a state of damn emergency. If you ever dealt with the VA, you know what I'm talking about. So just do whatever works for you here. Next, we have three options for providing our ID: the PC camera, the mobile camera, and the file upload. PC and mobile camera options are pretty much the same thing. You just put your ID in a certain section of the frame of the camera, and the site automatically snaps a picture once it's clear enough. Upload is the easiest option, but not many people tend to keep pictures of the front and the back of their driver's license on their computer or their mobile devices. But because I have done this so many times, I do keep pictures of the front and back of my ID on my phone and on my computer. So in this case, all I would do is drag and drop those pictures and put them in the respective boxes here and click upload. Once you've successfully submitted your ID using whichever process you chose, the system will attempt to verify your ID in real time. So if you've never had a federal background check, this is what it looks like. This works most of the time, but occasionally there is a manual verification required, which can take up to a day or two to complete. And this is not a federal background check, I'm just messing with you. Hopefully everything works properly for you and the ID verification is immediate. Now that we are verified, we should be able to access the send receive function without any problem whatsoever. When we get back to the send receive box, we should have the option to actually send something now. But because you just bought your first crypto, you may not have anywhere to actually send it, but for demonstration purposes, I will complete a send now so you can see what it looks like. The first thing we need to do when we send out is to specify the amount we want to send. Now we can do that manually, or we can just click the send all button. You can also toggle back and forth between US dollars and whatever cryptocurrency you're sending. So if you're sending out Litecoin, you can toggle that back and forth between US dollars and Litecoin amounts. It's very handy. After you've copied the address that you want to send funds to, you paste it here in the to section. Now Coinbase does you a favor and it verifies that it is a valid address for the coin that you're sending out. So in this case, I'm sending Tether, which is on the Ethereum blockchain, and it did verify that this was a valid Tether address before it let me click continue. So once again, it's just a nice little handy feature that Coinbase gives us so that we don't just blast our funds off into the cryptosphere, never to be seen again. You may see a warning after you click the send button because it's very important to understand that transactions in cryptocurrency are irreversible. If you send your funds to the wrong address, there's a good chance you won't ever see those funds again unless you get really lucky and the person on the other side of that address is a really nice person. If you want, you can go back and double check the address, or you can go ahead and send now. And because funds are leaving your account, you will have to go through the two-factor authentication process. Okay, so if you're thinking, why in the world did the dollar amount change? It is because this is actually a different time. This is a different session. I had a very important call with a client I had to take, and Coinbase timed out. So when I got back in, long story short, just used a different amount. So now when you get this screen, your funds are on the way to the address that you sent them to. Okay, so let's talk about receiving. If you go back into the send receive box and click the receive tab, you'll see your Tether public key here, your public address. So keep in mind your public key or your public address, that is what people need to send you funds. So it's okay to share this with others. The little QR code in the middle there is just a QR code that translates to your address there. So you can share that out as well. A lot of times it's just much easier to scan a QR code than to copy and paste a long address. So that's why they give you the QR code. It just makes it a little bit easier. It's okay to print that QR code out and give it to somebody or post it somewhere, and when people scan it, they'll get your public address. So this is a very convenient way of receiving funds. And as far as receiving funds in your Coinbase account is concerned, that's pretty much the gist of it. There's not much, else to discuss about it. You have a public key, you give that public key to someone else, they send you those funds, or you use that public key on another account to send funds back and forth. Pretty straightforward stuff here. You now have a very strong foundation in cryptocurrency. You also have an active Coinbase account with 3 forms of payment and level 3 verification, which means you're fully verified to do whatever you want on that platform. You also now know how to buy, send, and receive cryptocurrency using your fully verified Coinbase account. This account is the very beginning of your cryptocurrency journey, and I hope this course has been helpful for you. No matter how far you go or how long you are in crypto, you'll always have questions. So feel free to email me those questions or your comments at feedback@dixon.company. I really hope you have enjoyed this course. I tried my best to make it a bit more entertaining than the run-of-the-mill slideshow or online course, because as I said, we do things a little different here in crypto. Our business acumen, as you would say, is unlike anything else in the business world. But in the end, we do conduct a lot of big money deals, okay? We just do it our own way. And I hope eventually you can find the advantages of doing business your own way. Thank you again, and I wish you much success as you build your revolution with the future of finance. Yeah, I really think we built a bond with them there. Oh, Elon? No, you tell them. When we get back to the send receive box, we now have the option to send. Because you just bought your first crypto, you may not have anywhere to actually send it right now, but for demonstration purchases, I literally wrote fucking purchases on there, I swear to God. Do it our own way, and I hope at some point you can take advantage of not only the cryptocurrency world, but also the crypto style of doing business. Thank you again, and I wish you much success as you build your conduct business on Coinbase. You also now know how to buy, send, and receive cryptocurrency using your fully verified Coinbase account. This account is very... Test, trying to unfuck this stuff. Hey, you're still here. The course is over. You can close the window now. Have a good day. Bye.